Hey there, Aquapals. Jeremy Wright here with the Arkansas Planted Aquarium Club. I've got several projects going today. Um, One is a little later today. I'm going to try to knock the rim off of this 55-gallon tank. You can see it's got a broken center brace and it's cracked, probably in more than one place. This is just an old rough tank that I picked up for like 30 bucks, and for a week or two I've been scraping at it. It hasn't been a big deal, but now I actually need the space. So I'm going to be trying to knock this rim off, placing an order for a new top frame. Top and bottom frames for 55s are basically the same. I get them for about 20 bucks plus shipping, so that's one thing I'm going to be doing, along with resealing this tank. In terms of other 55-gallon tanks, I just did a little bit of tank maintenance, but something up here that's kind of cool in my convict tank, I finally have all of my convict cichlids in one aquarium, one large colony. So the big ones, the medium-sized ones, the littlest ones, and the not so littlest ones are all kind of hanging out in here together. Just did a 60% water change in this tank, and the tank that the small fry came out of, not these guys were all born into this tank, but the tank that the small fry that are up in that, the remaining 6 that I was able to find in a 29-gallon tank hanging out with guppies, well, they're about to be introduced into this group, and they will be the sibling, cousin, brother, uncles of these guys. So that's kind of how things are going. This tank, it's just got a lot of tannins that are still kind of leaching out of the soil. This has been going maybe 4 months, just at a guess. We could look back through my videos to see, but being a convict tank, any plants that I try to place down low in the tank just get pulled up and ravaged, including this large Anubias. Now it's hard to see because there's so many floaters, and the number of floaters are because it's a convict tank. How else do you keep it clean and fresh? So yeah, lots of floaters up here. Not a ton of light, just a 4-foot double tube shop light, and nice python that's hanging out in there that's helping me out. It looks like I blasted a pre-filter sponge that I had inside of this. When I siphon off water from a tank, especially one that has small fish, I stick a pre-filter sponge inside of my python when I begin doing the siphoning, and then they're kind of hard to get out sometimes, so I usually just turn the water on when I'm going back the other way. I have found it. There it is. Cool. Life's good. Life's easy, especially when you can actually find the thing. I have lost things like this inside of aquariums like for long periods of time before. This tank's pretty easy, but others that are heavily planted, sometimes it's just hard to find those things. So I'll just sit up there on the ladder for a minute. And yes, I'm on a ladder because this tank is nearly at the ceiling. So I think it's probably time to start letting these guys out and about. We'll just see how they do. They're probably going to do just fine. I don't think the other fish are going to chase after them. Uh-oh. But it might take them a little while to find their new homes. And they're fine. They're going to be fine. Everybody's doing well in here. I was going to show you my goofy fish, but I lost him. There we go. There's donkey lips right there. You can probably see one I call him donkey lips. And yeah, I think it's a male. I've never seen any color on this one. But this is my strangest convict. Got some cool ones, like that Arctic white right there that was born into this colony. That Arctic white as well. There are quite a few of them in here. Might be able to see there are a couple of small fry over here, and it looks like they're mingling. So good, nice. That's what we wanted. Commingulation of Fry Nation. And, oh look, a ram's horn. That's gonna be food. If I can get it out. Gosh. Anyway, it's kind of a small bend, but let's see what happens here. This one's gonna go really fast, I bet. And yep, that's about how long snails last in this tank, which is good and bad. But for now, methinks I'm done with the tank maintenance up here on the Convict 55 Central American tank. For those of you who are familiar with the aquarium biotope project, I think there are 2 or 3 days remaining on that. We definitely need some Central American entries. I'm not actually participating or entered this year, but next year about this time I hope to be. Pausing for just a second while I drop the python off. All right, that's done for a second. I always siphon off some water. I got like 10 buckets of nice tannin water into that bucket, went out and watered some plants and the ones that are in pots and stuff. And now back to discussing the projects I've got going on. So one of the things that I need to do is get a place set up for this Hyger submersible lamp that a buddy from the Hyger company sent for me to evaluate. And this is kind of my first test. It's a 26.5-inch long lamp, and this isn't the review video. This is just me talking about a project that's upcoming. But my plan for the submersible light and how I think they're going to be very useful is to set them down in tall tanks where the lower reaches aren't getting a lot of light, just to get the plants going. And you can slowly raise that light up. But for now I stuck it in here just because I can't see much about this tank. It doesn't have a dedicated light. The lighting for this tank is all above it, and it's growing my ecosystem over here. But that's one of the other projects that's going on, probably one of the ones that I'm a little more pressed to get going. Then over here I'm considering refurbing this 150. The bottom of this tank is cracked, and rather than buy the $400 piece of glass to go in the bottom of it, I'm thinking about just laying a piece of like maybe 3/4 inch plywood down, mixing up some epoxy, pouring it in, and then calling it quits. We'll see. That might be a really bad idea, but that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do. And I might even put this in my greenhouse. Not sure. But this is the much more immediate focus. I need this as grow space for gups and also for plants. Mainly because I need a specific grow tank for like Murios, like parrot's feather, and I don't have a good dedicated space right now. Most of my tanks are a little too crowded to effectively grow something like that, so I'm going to keep this tank, as rough as it is. Like I said, I'm going to be putting a new top frame, or rim as most people call them, on this. I've got a wholesaler that supplies that sort of thing. This is just a really standard 12.5 by 48 inch rim, which is 55-gallon tank. And then I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with this thing. About every 6 or 8 weeks, I have to come in this tank and harvest pounds of plant matter out of it. And, even wholesaling guppy grass and ceratophyllum, hornwort to local fish stores and distributing it across, Facebook Marketplace and stuff. Even, doing $30 to $60 in plant sales a day. I have a hard time getting rid of the plants that I'm growing in some of these tanks. Now, that's significant and noteworthy for one reason. I don't use fertilizers. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. I don't use fertilizers, and I have to get rid of pounds of plant matter per tank on about a 6 to 8 week cycle. So for those of you who are, still with me and paying attention, the reason for that is aquaponics principles. And I always use soil under sand. So all of my tanks, for the most part, not every single one, but for the most part, um, the ones that I didn't adopt, like that little tank, which has aqua soil in it, all of my systems are soil under sand, and they are long term. This one's been going for like 5 years, unbroken. Now, granted, that one's only been going for, 4, maybe 5 months, probably 4 months. Um, this one down here, it's been going for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And they are long term stable, easy to take care of. I do water testing just to know when it's time to do water changes, but normally I don't do water changes based on nitrates or phosphate buildup, with the exception of convict tanks. And the reason I do water changes on convict tanks is mainly because they will eventually, at least in my situation, they all sort of start growing a little bit of cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, and that is because they have an elevated phosphate level. Um, Nitrates, not so much. Phosphates, yes. So I kind of keep the lighting a little bit lower in these. They only grow floating plants. This one is, let's see, I'm going to zoom on a spot because I think I can see a little bit. Maybe not. I was thinking some of those dark spots may have been blue-green algae. Maybe not. I might have removed it all. Um, but all the same, I could probably get away with just doing a sniff test on these to know when it's time to do a water change. And as I mentioned earlier, I did like a 60% water change in this tank. One of the reasons for that is it's just got a lot of tannins leaching out of the soil. It's still a kind of new soil under sand tank. And the other issue is, which, pause. The first part of that, they just get dark and hard to see in. So I changed the water because it's a dark tank. It's covered across the top. It needs to stay covered across the top just so I've got, plants working with the fish bioload, because it's a convict tank. I can't plant much down into the substrate. They will just rip it up, eat it, rip it to shreds, kill it, and that's how convicts are. So fine, we play their game and sing their song, or at least play drums along to their song. But the other thing is that cyanobacteria thing. So jumping back into the other tanks and talking about water testing, nutrients, water changes, I really don't do a lot of water changes in tanks like this. It runs super lean in terms of nutrients. It's hard to detect nitrogen. It's hard to detect phosphorus. It's hard to detect potassium. But still, the plants are growing like crazy. I mean, like they grow like crazy. I have to throw them, out pretty frequently. And no fertilizers. So why then do people constantly try to sell you this stuff? One, it's because most of our hobby isn't operating with a mindset like they understand how aquaponics operate, how nature operates, and When was the last time you saw, like, little fairies or trolls going out and dumping fertilizer in the lakes or the streams or rivers? You don't. Yet plants grow abundantly. Now, backing up, yeah, there's some farm waste and stuff that gets leached out there, but long before humans were being humans, nobody was putting fertilizer in the lakes or the rivers, and those plants were growing just fine. Take a look at the Amazon, take a look at the Mississippi or the Nile. Plants grow, right? So, why then do we add fertilizers to our planted aquariums? The main reason is because of marketing. And probably the secondary reason is from people in the hobby who haven't, who who might do their thing pretty well, like Dutch aquascapers, or um, people who want a certain type of look, or people who think that they have to inject CO2 into an aquarium to grow plants that require quite a bit of CO2. In reality, um, a number of years ago, this aquarium was up there, and it wasn't. So now this is in the tank A position. It used to be in the tank B position, but so this is kind of a Central American tank also. This used to be a more North American tank, and the South America tank was below it. But anyway, I ended up giving away the South America tank to a local fish store that uses it as one of their main displays down in South Arkansas. But that was cool. The owners are, actually, you know what? Those owners ended up taking that tank to their house, and they've got other display stuff there now. So I think I hear my toddler calling for me, so I'm going to try to cut this a little bit short. But basically, the reason people do the fertilizer thing is because they don't understand how nature works. It'll work just fine without. So if you enjoy this sort of thing, give me a like, subscribe, ask some questions in the comments. Feel free to send me a message. You can find me on Instagram at cave.dweller.mediocrities, same as my YouTube handle, or on Facebook, Jeremy R. Wright or Jeremy Randall Wright, and the Arkansas Planted Aquarium Club group. Hit me up. I'll show you how to do this without using fertilizers.